when a public official shall conduct themselves toward the public in a civil and professional manner that will foster public respect and cooperation.
He's not guilty of anything there.
And finally, when a public official shall not, unless expressly authorized, make any statements, speeches, or appearances that could reasonably be considered to represent the views of the city or the city council.
No views expressed.
And again, he's not done anything.
All right, so those are the allegations. So we need to determine whether or not the facts which are alleged, if found to be true, would be sufficient to constitute a violation or not. And if we find that the complaint does not constitute facts which constitute a violation as I read the code, then we would move to dismiss the complaint. Any discussion on that?
I find no such in contact.
Yeah, I don't see where he did anything.
Passive.
Passive charge.
Well, I tend to agree in looking this over. There are a couple of things it does. The Code of Ethics does incorporate all state law, federal law relating to conflicts of interest and ethical lapses. I'm familiar with those. None of those would punish silence under the circumstances. And then the specific allegation here, as I read through this, frankly, the only possible exception in any conduct would be that he left after the mayor had adjourned the meeting. And I would have difficulty finding that that would be unethical on his part. So I certainly have to entertain a motion to dismiss the allegations against Councilmember Gase, if that's what.
I move we dismiss the allegations against Mr. Gase.
And moved and seconded that we dismiss the allegations made against Councilmember Gase. Anybody want further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So those are dismissed. The second issue relates to the allegations filed against the deputy mayor in this case. And in this case, again, it's the same section of the code which is alleged. And again, we can go through the same process if you wish to do that. I am troubled by this, and I'll just put this out there. I understand that another committee of our Board of Ethics was appointed to examine the deputy mayor's conduct at the meeting of February 2nd. So I did ask the clerk to send me a copy of the complaint, which was filed in that regard. And I do understand from the media, at least, that the other committee has held hearings and taken testimony and the like. And I'm concerned about having two committees look over the exact same allegations, and I don't think the code was drafted with that intent. And let me give you my concern on this and just throw it out there. If that were the case, I would note there's a 3-year statute of limitations. If in fact any time any individual or entity filed a complaint as to the same conduct, you had to appoint a 3-member board to consider that complaint, even though it had already been considered by another committee. It would be very easy for an organization to simply file the Board of Ethics for a 3-year period while it filed complaint after complaint until it got the result they wanted. I can't imagine that the code intended that, nor would I imagine that it would be constitutional if in fact that's how it were interpreted. Having said that, the City Council did appoint us on this, and I don't know if it was because Councilmember Gase was involved in this complaint where he was not mentioned in the other complaint or not. So I'm happy to hear thoughts from you as to how we might proceed on that.
Do you have the complaint filed to the first ethics board?
I do.
Could you read this, please?
It's pretty lengthy. There were two. There was
Can you summarize it for us?
Well, yes, I think I can. Let me. All right. There was an addendum filed on March 9th, which is essentially says, I've broken these complaints into two parts and grouped the offenses accordingly as best as possible. And I will read through and I kind of underline. One was the signage restriction, which again is an issue raised in ours. The second was words and actions such as admonishments to be civil, stopping angry outbursts, and stopping applause or will shorten the public comment period, did not foster respect and cooperation. A third, that ignoring the council by acting unilaterally, forceful gavel pounding and proclaiming out of order. Repeatedly speaking over, gaveling, and barking time up, and bark time up quickly, out of time, time up at speakers, and unofficial timing of the events. Scolding the audience, ending the second comment period abruptly with Ms. Kidd's quote, unbridled outrage and subsequent gavel pounding, improperly declaring the meeting adjourned. Not following Robert's Rules of Order, running the entire meeting in a dictatorial operation, as a dictatorial, excuse me. Rude to fellow council members, such as when Mr. Webb attempted to intercede. And in summary, this meeting, the recesses and the adjournment were not in keeping with how a Port Angeles City Council meeting should be adjourned according to Robert's Rules of Order. That's pretty much a summary of what the complaints are. And I would note, one thing I did, if it helps, I'll go through this. I wrote down what the ethics complaints are here, and I wrote them in chronological order. First, the notice that said there would be no signs. Second issue was the deputy mayor taking over and presiding on the meeting while the mayor was available on the telephone. Third, Mr. Johnson, the first speaker, was interrupted. Fourth, that council member Webb was gavelled out of order when he asked for a legal opinion on extending the initial comment period, which had exceeded the original 30 minutes. Fifth, declaring the 2-minute and then a 5-minute recess at the end of the public comment period without giving the council time to overrule the declaration of recess. Sixth, adjourning the meeting prior to the end of the second scheduled comment period after the first speaker compared 4 council members by name to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And it notes that the deputy mayor did say that if the party were to be civil, the meeting could continue. And then there's adjournment, and the mayor then left the council chambers. Seventh, did not allow time for the council to overrule the decision to adjourn. And those are the allegations in the current complaint.
Well, what we got?
There's maybe a few minute differences, but there's a lot of overlap, I think, too. I was telling Mr. Dean before the meeting, just having read the media report, that I thought we were kind of covering the same ground.
May I ask the clerk a question?
Yes, of course.
It's my understanding from the media that the other committee intends to make a decision on the initial complaint tomorrow. Is that correct?
That is correct, and Mr. Prince, the chairperson of the first committee, is in the audience, and I'm sure he can answer questions if you'd like as well. But that is correct, tomorrow at 9 a.m.
But thoughts on how we proceed?
Well, I would defer to see what they do.
What did you say?
Defer. So we're not doing the same thing twice. I don't see where redundancy is going to prove anything.
I feel a lot the same way. I feel like we're covering the same ground.
Your Honor, if I might, I'm Mike Kenyon, counsel for the Councilmember Gase is now happily irrelevant proceedings, and Deputy Mayor Kidd. My suggestion, since we apparently have the chair of Board 1 here, is to see if the chair of Board 1 would be willing to go back to his board and defer that board's decision to a date, an agreed date, when this board thinks it can make a decision. On behalf of my clients at least, I'd also indicate that we have no objection to the board's meeting together on the identical allegation, much like a panel of the Court of Appeals would do. I think, correctly pointed out, the legal and constitutional issues that could easily arise if the different panels reach different decisions on the same allegations.
Well, and I've been thinking about this a lot. I retired, so I have time. My thought would be that perhaps we adjourn to see what the first committee does tomorrow, which may then give us information as to whether or not, in fact, everything that was addressed by the complainant before us has in fact been addressed and referred to the City Council, because ultimately it's just a recommendation of the City Council. And a second thought was to ask the City Council, did they really intend to have two panels hear the same issues? Again, I'm not sure that they understood when they referred it to us that that was the case.
I think I can speak to that if you like.
Yes.
The council was aware that they were, from being at the council meeting, they were aware that they were appointing two different boards. I think that the thought was 6 sets of eyes instead of 3 sets of eyes to look at these two different complaints. One of the things that the staff did bring forward when the second board was created was the possibility of just appointing the same board to hear both complaints. Council chose not to do that.
I'm not going to say if 6 sets of eyes should be working together, not separately, in my mind.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, and there's nothing from precluding you from working together with the other board if that's what they would like to do as well.
I'd like to suggest that if we do defer, that we reserve the right to come back together afterwards and meet.
I'm agreeable to that.
Is that a motion at this point?
You want all that in motion?
All right, let's just discuss it. How do you want us to proceed on this? It sounds like if we ask the City Council, they'd say, yes, we want you to consider this.
That sounds like it. Well, I would suggest that we defer. And then I would think we come back together and if we decide that more needs to be done, we will defer to meet or decide to meet with the other board to see what they came up with and then we could start calling in people, witnesses if we need to be at that point.
I'm agreeable to that.
Okay. Mr. Prince, did you want to say something?
I'd like to ask a question, Judge, if that's okay. Someone has to give us some guidance, and we're ready to announce our...
Mr. Burns, do you mind coming to the
I don't mind at all.
Thank you, sir.
No, I'm only here to help. I hope. This one? Thank you, Miss Jennifer. A little.
Look,
Oh, Miss Jennifer.
you're on.
I am?
Yeah.
Okay. I showed up just in case there was a question. I didn't want to participate. We're scheduled. We're done. We are perfectly ready to announce decisions tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We haven't voted. We're required to vote in public. We're done. But if you're telling us don't show up tomorrow at 9 a.m., we won't show. Someone has to make that call, and that's not me. I'm not sure it's you, Judge Williams, either. Am I right?
I'm not sure it would be us.
It's not, Ms. Jennifer's put out the public notice. Citizens Committee Ethics 1 will meet tomorrow at 9 a.m. to announce their decisions. We are ready to do that. I have no idea how Judge Minor and Mrs. Rutten are going to vote. We have to vote in public. And if someone tells us, Frank, Grant, Danetta, don't show up, we won't be here. But someone's got to take the bull by the horns and say, hey, I agree with you. Group 2 should not have started till Group 1 was done. That makes sense. but I'm not in charge. So Judge Williams, I defer to your judgment. I know Judge Minor would defer to your judgment. Judge Minor, a number of times, Judge Williams has suggested aligning the two committees. You know as well as I do now from Ms. Jennifer, the City Council did not want that.
Well, I'm not saying that the city council didn't want that. They have not precluded you from meeting together.
Yeah, they wanted 6 eyes looking at 2 different complaints simultaneously. I think they made that clear, right?
I'm not sure.
Thanks, Jennifer.
And there's no problem with canceling the meeting tomorrow if that's what you all choose to do.
Well, whose fault is that?
That's, I think as chair of your board and chair of this board, you two could make that decision together.
May I ask, I don't want to do anything wrong. My degree is English literature, not jurisprudence. May I ask their counselor or lawyer a question, Judge? What do you think?
I'm done with it.
Go ahead.
Welcome to Port Angeles.
Thank you.
Committee 1 was given not the entire section J as a violation. Mrs. Smith, the complainant, only alleges 4 violations, 4 specific parts of section J. Did you have a chance to read that first complaint? Not that it really matters, but I'm curious.
I skimmed the first complaint because I'm not representing anyone on that. I will tell you, though, that I think, as Judge Williams pointed out earlier, the code itself says that the board should consider and review only the specific violations noted in the complaint. In this case, the complainant certainly had the discretion and privilege to only allege 4 violations.
So here's what we're going to do tomorrow there, Counselor, and I am open to suggestion. I'm a high school English teacher, not a lawyer. My brother's a lawyer.
You're more valuable than we are.
And he's very rich, and someday he's going to help me out. We are voting tomorrow, Counselor, on those 4 alleged violations. Okay? And we're going to sit right there at 9 o'clock. We're going to go one by one, yea or nay, 12 times. That was what the plan was. Tomorrow will be our 4th public meeting. We've been on this now for 7 weeks, committee number 1. And aligning with these gentlemen is not out of the question whatsoever. But you can see my dilemma and Judge Williams' dilemma. Who's going to make that call?
We've already expressed to Judge Williams and this board that my clients have no objection if the 2 boards do this simultaneously. In my view, the call is made by the 2 boards or the chair.
Hey, I have my 2 board members, one's in Silverdale at his eye appointment. My other board members up at Peninsula College teaching a class. As of right now, and I came down just to offer whatever help I could. It hasn't been much, I'll admit that. Judge Williams, help me out.
There's a couple of things that go through my mind. And one of them is that the Board of Ethics is to resolve complaints promptly, and in fact sets a 60-day limit for a decision, which in terms of the first complaint filed, you are rapidly approaching. The second thought would be that I understand, again, from the media, that you have spent many hours with your committee going over transcripts and videos and testimony, which this committee has not done, and combining, we wouldn't do that with a jury, to have 6 members of a jury that had actually heard the case deliberate with 6 members of a jury that had not yet heard the case. And obviously could result in some very bad decision making, so I would be reluctant to do that. The alternative, if we combine both groups, frankly then, is to have the first group rehear everything, which I think would be unfair to the first group that heard this. So my opinion, frankly, what I'm leaning towards is having the first group issue their opinion, see whether or not that resolves, in some respects, some of the issues which are before us, either may or may not, and then we could proceed at that point in time with a little more clarity about what it is that we are supposed to be recommending to the City Council.
Judge Williams, I'll close with this and leave it in your hands, sir. Judge Minor was terribly concerned about conflicting opinions over the same material.
Well, and that's why I think, frankly, in my opinion, the code does not call for two committees to determine whether the same facts exist, and if they do exist, whether or not they constitute violations of the code of ethics.
Would it be feasible, and I hate to recommend this, for the six of us to get together, somehow put our six heads together, come up with answers before the 60-day limit arises, which is right around the corner. We've been on this for 7 weeks. We have a stack of documents this high. We've been in public session for 12 hours, private session for 3. That's a tough gig. We're still willing to be here tomorrow at 9 a.m., but someone's got to help us out.
Could we decide what they do? Make those choices after they're done?
Yes,
I would suggest that.
I would agree with that.
Ken?
Gentlemen, can we ask you to speak into your microphones if you don't mind?
Okay.
Sorry, thank you.
I have suggested that we wait till their decision, we look at their decisions and see if there's anything that was not decided in our complaints. We then would decide to pick those up if we so decide. So if they can do what they're going to do, we would get what we say they didn't.
I agree with that.
I'm going to sit down. We'll be here tomorrow at 9 unless someone tells us otherwise. Okay, Judge?
that's fine.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, I'm Stephanie Noblin from Clallam Public Eye, and I videotaped all their meetings. They're available online if you want to see them.
Okay, thank you. And I did watch one of them that was referenced in the initial complaint here, so.
But I'm talking about the ethics hearings.
Oh, okay, thank you. Well, I'm hearing sort of a consensus then that we would, as to the allegations against Deputy Mayor Kidd, that we would like to hear what the other committee resolves or does not resolve at their announcement tomorrow, and we would then need to proceed further on that particular allegation. Is that, am I summarizing that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you should.
Okay. Is there a motion to do that?
I move that we wait, hear the outcome of the other committee, and then reschedule to meet to decide whether we have any cleanup to do.
I like that wording.
Is that a second?
Second.
And moved and seconded then that we postpone further discussion as to the allegations against Deputy Mayor Kidd until we have had a chance to receive input from the first committee hearing the allegations on the February 2nd meeting. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ma'am, did you wish to be heard?
I just want to mention that the complaints are both separate from two separate individuals, and I wanted to remind you of that. Thank you.
And I understand that. I understand the complaint before us is actually from an entity as opposed to an individual, and we understand that. So. All right, anything further? All right. I move we adjourn.
I second it.
All right, we will adjourn this. We need to set a date for the next meeting. Any thoughts on that?
Tuesday and Thursday of next week.
All right.
What?
Tuesday and
Tuesday or
Thursday.
Thursdays.
Tuesday and Thursday, either one's good for me.
Let's ask the clerk, is
If it
notice
pleases the-
requirement, stand.
If it pleases the board, if we could meet, not next week, but the following week, unless you don't want to wait that long. It would be the second week of April.
During spring break.
Yes, sir.
What's the date? April?
April 12th is the
Are you
second.
looking at a Tuesday and a Thursday, is that what I was told?
Yes.
12th and
For around
14th.
spring break.
So you're talking during the week of April, well, I think in April.
It's April 11th, so we'd be looking at the 12th or the 14th.
The 12th, I can't be here.
Why can we not meet earlier?
You can, I will just have to arrange for another staff member to be available for you. Which is fine.
What is the meeting this April 11th?
I frankly prefer something like next week if we could.
That's perfectly fine.
Right ahead.
Thursday the 7th work for the board, because I would not be able to be here on Tuesday.
The 7th?
Yeah, Thursday, it works for me.
Works for me.
And Eloise, would that work for you as well?
Oh, I thought everybody forgot us. We haven't had an opportunity to even introduce ourselves, and you've already settled the case. I find that disturbing.
I believe they're scheduling a meeting for next week. I don't think we're following their decisions.
Would that fine with you?
All right,
2
so
p.m.?
next Thursday, 2 p.m.?
2 p.m. Thursday?
Okay. All right. We're adjourned at that point in time. I might ask the clerk. I guess the chairman. I anticipate they won't have formal findings by then, but if they do, could you email those to us?
Absolutely.
On the first committee? All right. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Acts which constitute a violation of the code, and we would move to dismiss the complaint. Any discussion on that?
I find myself in contact.
Yeah, I don't see where he did anything.
Passive.
Passive charge.
Well, I tend to agree in looking this over. There are a couple of things it does. The Code of Ethics does incorporate all state law, federal law relating to conflicts of interest and ethical lapses. I'm familiar with those. None of those would punish silence under the circumstances. And then the specific allegation here, as I read through this, frankly, the only possible exception in any conduct would be that he left after the mayor had adjourned the meeting, and I would have difficulty finding that that would be unethical on his part. So I certainly be happy to entertain a motion to dismiss the allegations against Councilmember Gase, if that's what.
I move we dismiss the allegations against Mr. Gase.
And moved and seconded that we dismiss the allegations made against Councilmember Gase. Anybody want further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So those are dismissed. The second issue relates to the allegations filed against the deputy mayor in this case. And in this case, again, it's the same section of the code which is alleged. And again, we can go through the same process if you wish to do that. I am troubled by this, and I'll just put this out there. I understand that another committee of our Board of Ethics was appointed to examine the deputy mayor's conduct at the meeting of February 2nd. So I did ask the clerk to send me a copy of the complaint, which was filed in that regard. And I do understand from the media, at least, that the other committee has held hearings and taken testimony and the like. Next one is public officials shall conduct themselves toward the public in a civil and professional manner that will foster public respect and cooperation.
Is not guilty of anything there.
And the final one is public officials shall not, unless expressly authorized, make any statements, speeches, or appearances that could reasonably be considered to represent the views of the city or the city council.
No views expressed.
And again, he's not done anything.
All right, so those are the allegations. So we need to determine whether or not the facts which are alleged, if found to be true, would be sufficient to constitute a violation or not. And if we find that the complaint does not constitute, and I'm concerned about having two committees look over the exact same allegations, and I don't think the code was drafted with that intent. And let me give you my concern on this and just throw it out there. If that were the case, I would note there's a 3-year statute of limitations. If in fact, any time any individual or entity filed a complaint as to the same conduct, you had to appoint a 3-member board to consider that complaint, even though it had already been considered by another committee. It would be very easy for an organization to simply tie up the Board of Ethics for a 3-year period while it filed a complaint